is just one of multiple long-range drones in the FPV market. And although these things are great at long-range cruising, they're really not the best choice for freestyle maneuvers. But what if there was a drone that could do both? Well, Diatone has us covered with their latest drone, the ROMA F6, and sporting a modified X-frame, larger 6-inch propellers, and built-in GPS, this just might be the best multi-purpose drone in the FPV market. Okay, so here's the box right here. Really straightforward box, black with nothing really on here. Diatone might have a little sticker right here. It says ROMA F6, 6S, and then plug and play. Now these drones come in numerous configurations, and Diatone gives us a lot, and I mean a lot of options. Now this one here is the plug and play with no receiver. You can get it also with the FrSky receiver and or TBS receiver as well. Now Diatone has a pretty cool configuration option called the Power Kit, and that's pretty special. That gives you the frame for the drone, the electronics such as the flight controller, ESC, and the motors. All you have to do is add your VTX. That's amazing because first of all, it lowers the overall price. There's a lot of us who have multiple drones with broken drone parts, and we have spare VTXs. A lot of us actually have new VTX waiting to go into other drones. So if you already own a lot of VTX, this could really lower the overall price of your drone. Diatone does offer that with the majority of their drones. This is a relatively new drone for Diatone, so I haven't seen an option for that, and hopefully they'll offer that in the future. All right, so let's open up this box and see what's in here. So we have an instruction manual right here. Put that to the side. Then you have your propellers here. These are your H-screw propellers. We'll talk about this a little bit later. These are pretty much your 6-inch propellers. These are the 6x3x3, so really good for efficiency. And obviously, this is the thing that stands out in this drone. It's a little bit larger than a 5-inch quad. You also have an included USB-C cable, which is good. A lot of drone manufacturers don't include a USB cable. They assume that you have one. Looks like we have some mount here for cameras, but you have two options here to mount your GoPro camera, so this will be very useful in the future. You have some battery straps right here. Actually, a lot of them. This is like 6 battery straps, so they really threw a lot at you here. You have a bag here with some goodies on here, some antennas. Looks like a right-hand circular polarized antenna, some screws, some bolts, some wires, and a battery mat. This is the protector kit. So if you want to change the protection on these drones from this nice green color to this gray one, you have a second set here. As I said, that's cool that they give you this many options. Besides that, you have 2 instruction manuals here, one for the flight controller and one for the ESC. All right, here's the drone right here. Let's pull this puppy out. And here's the star of the show, guys. This thing is amazing. Let's put this to the side. All right, so let's take a closer look at this drone here. And the first thing that jumps out are these color protector plates. This is really cool, kind of reminiscent of some of the iFlight products where you have a plate here to cover some of the electronics, which is good. You're gonna spend a lot of money on your drone. You wanna protect your equipment. And it's also good for just aesthetics. It looks really good in this color. Now, these plates are removable. You can take them off completely, or you can just swing them open to get access to the electronics. And there you go, these things can swing open. Dude, they have a lot. Wow, they have a... They put a lot of thought into this, and I don't know if I can convey this on the camera, but there's a lot of details on here. The first thing here, there's a plate that separates the ESC from the flight controller, and I'm sure that's for numerous reasons, whether it be heat or just they don't want the wires to come in contact with the ESC, which is pretty cool. And I'm looking at the motor here as well. The motor has something very similar to prevent the screws, the mounting screws, from going into the windings of the motor. So there's a lot of small details, if you don't notice it, to protect and just extend the longevity of this drone. Pretty cool. Now, talking about electronics here, we have a stack here. We have a F7 stack here, F722 DJI flight controller. Really, really cool. And at the bottom here, we have a Mamba F55 ESC, so 55 amps, which is pretty decent. 65 amps peak for sure. And yeah, that should be adequate for a drone of this size. I'm just looking at all these warnings on here. All right, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's just remove some of these things on here. Now, as I said before, this is pretty cool, guys, because this reminds me, as I said, like some of the other products on the market where you have all these placards and stickers instructing you how to mount and configure this drone. So maybe if you're looking for a nice long-range drone or something that can do both, this might be the good choice for your first one. But they're trying to walk you through the setup of this quad. And we'll talk about that when we do the setup ourselves. Let's just take off some of these, especially the ones in the motor. Take that off. Now, these motors look freaking fancy, guys. Now, this was a standout feature on their F-35, and this is almost the same design. This thing looks like a fancy wheel for your car, guys, with these spoked hubs here. It looks amazing, guys. It looks like a wheel, and they put a lot of detail into this. Like, obviously this nice green color looks good, but to have that gold on the inside, that wasn't necessary. They just did that. Now, besides that, these are pretty large motors. These are the 2306.5. So yes, these half-size motors with the 1650 kV. So this is a 6S drone, and a lower kV obviously for the larger propellers. So we'll see how that behaves. Besides that, you have these plastic prop protectors for these wires. A lot of drones are having these on here. I guess they seem to do a good job. Now, talking about these prop protection, we talked about the props earlier. These are 6-inch propellers. We'll install these a little bit later. And these are the HQ props 6x3x3. So hopefully these props generate a lot of thrust and then also have some efficiency with their design. All right, so up front you have the Runcam Phoenix 2. This is my first time using this camera. I don't know how it performs, but we'll see. Pretty nice big lens on here. I like the white color of the camera here. Besides that, you have these adjustable screws right here, and you also have the markings here for the degrees of pitch. It's pretty cool that they have the actual markings on there. So if you have an action camera on here as well, then you can actually match it. Besides that, you have this protection right here. This is pretty cool. Now, this is magnesium aluminum 2-post right here, protector for the camera. With the cap, it kind of protrudes beyond this magnesium protector here, but with the cap removed, it is well protected. All right, so connected to the camera to the back here is your VTX. This is your Mamba Ultra 1000. Obviously 1000 meaning the power output 1000 milliwatts. So this is a 1 watt VTX, which is really good for long range flying. As I said before, this will be a really good candidate as a multi-purpose drone. You want to do some freestyle? Well, it has the design for that. You want to do some long range flying? Well, you have a 1 watt VTX. Pretty cool. You can also get this with a DJI Air unit. So if you are flying digital, you can get that as well. Now, connected to the VTX, you have this antenna mount right here. This is a SMA antenna, and we do have the included, circular polarized antenna on here as well. So we'll probably install that in there. I also have a longer range antenna, which I might try out if I'm going to fly this long range. Now, next to that, you have your GPS receiver here. This is the M8 Plus receiver, which is cool. Not a lot of freestyle drones, if you want to call it a freestyle drone, has GPS built in. It has the TPU for it, so it's really clean and sleek. And as I said before, the fact that it has GPS gives you more flexibility. You could use this as a freestyle drone. If you want to go further out, you have the protection of your GPS, so in case you do fail safe, you will have the return to home feature. This same TPU mount that houses the GPS receiver also has a mount here or some holes here for your receiver. As I said, you can get this in a TBS Crossfire. I will be using the Express LRS for my receiver, and this will be the perfect spot to put that antenna. Now, on the side here, you have this thick wire. Usually you have the power cable at the rear, but in this case you have it on the side, which is pretty cool. We'll see how that is gonna work out for durability. Hopefully the props don't get it caught, but they have a unique way of routing this, and if you use the battery strap, this should be out of the way of the propellers. It is a XT60 connection, which is good and expected for these larger drones and larger motors. I wouldn't expect anything less. There's a huge capacitor attached to that, which is good. It's kind of tucked away in there. Now, in that same manner, right below that capacitor, you have an included beeper. As I said, guys, they packed a lot in this drone. I'm really impressed of how much they fit in here. And as I said, because of all these features, this thing makes the perfect all-around drone. So there is a beeper in here, a dedicated beeper. Some other drones just use the motors for the sound, but you have a beeper in here, so this would be really good in case your GPS doesn't work. Then you might have the beeper to find your drone a little bit easier. Now, coming underneath here, you have your frame here. This is like a modified X. It's not really straight. In Diatone, they call it a H frame. Looks like an H, I guess. That's why. This is a really cool design. These arms are huge, guys. These things are 6 millimeters. Then you have the bottom plate right here, and that's 3.5 millimeters. You have a medium plate or a mid plate in here, which is the one that sandwiches the arms, and that's 2 millimeters. And on the top here, you have a 2.5 millimeter top plate. So some pretty thick plates. The carbon fiber looks really good. Looks almost like a dry carbon. The cool thing though, as I said, there's so many little details. This is a really refined drone. You have like a cutout or an etch engraving of the Diatone brand in the carbon fiber. Both on the top, at the bottom, you have the ROMA, it says it right here, etched in the carbon fiber. Really nice looking drone, guys. They put a lot of thought in this. So let's see how much this weighs. Now, there's no official weight on their website, obviously, because there's so many different configurations, but the frame is advertised to be 190 grams. So we have the frame here with the electronics. Looks like 424 grams. And if we add the props on here, looks like 451 grams. So not bad. I mean, this is a big drone, so it might be heavy. We also have the batteries as well. I'll be using, obviously this is a 6S drone, so I have a 1250 milliamp hour, a 1300 milliamp hour 6S, and then the recommended is a 1500 milliamp hour. This thing is a beefy battery, pretty heavy, so I want to see the battery life or the flight times with these batteries. So let's put the first one on here. 645 grams, 659, 690. So with the props, we're gonna be over 700 grams. 717. All right, so besides the frame and all this detail here, you have all these plastic pieces here as feet for the frame to protect the frame. So that's a really nice touch that they actually included that, and it does match the other plastic pieces on the drone. Let's go over to the bench, install the Express LRS receiver, and then get this thing configured. All right, so we're here at the bench. We have our drone here, and we have our schematic here for our flight controller. What we have here is this little harness already wired into the flight controller, so we're just gonna piggyback off this. No sense reinventing the wheel. In the package, there are some harnesses on here, but it's already in here. So all I have to do is just wire this up to my Express LRS receiver. The white one is RX to the receiver, yellow one is TX, and then power and ground. And that should be it. All I have to do is just plug this into this harness and we should be good to go. So it's already marked on here. It sure is. So that's gonna be relatively easy. All right, just wanna confirm the wires again. White is TX on the flight controller. It sure is. So white needs to go to RX. That's it. That should be it. And that's it for receiver, guys. All right, let's just make sure it doesn't go into bootloader mode. Technically, I could just plug this in, which I'm going to do. I am gonna put my antenna on this since I'm gonna power this up for the first time, and the VTX might be powered up. All right, guys, let's do it. All right, it looks good. That was pretty simple. Let's see if it works before I get too ahead of myself. Okay, oops. Okay, so it's working. It's in Wi-Fi mode. Cool, that was quick. Now I just gotta route this and find a way to mount it, and we should be good to go. I didn't even have to remove this top plate, at least not yet. I'm gonna put a shrink wrap on this. Okay, so that looks all pretty good. Shrink wrap is on here. One of the easier installs for Express LRS. If you have any questions about how to install this, I've done multiple videos on how to install Express LRS in your drone. I'll leave that video linked above and below so you can take a look at it. Take a look at the receiver. Look at that. Wow, that's beautiful. Like it was supposed to be there. Pretty nice. Brilliant. So this drone is ready to go. Let's go to the computer, configure BetaFlight, make sure all our switches, modes are good, make sure our GPS rescue and the GPS is configured properly, and then, yeah, we're gonna go for a flight. Okay, so we're at the computer. We have our ROMA F6 here with our Express LRS antenna mounted in the supplied TPU mount. Really nice and convenient, really good. I also have a fan here to keep my drone cool as I am powering this up. I also have my radio and my goggles here to make sure the OSD is looking pretty good in my goggles. Now the first thing you want to do is bind your receiver to your radio so that you can configure this in BetaFlight. And since this is a brand new receiver, I do need to flash this so it can bind automatically to my radio. Now I've done multiple videos on how to flash your Express LRS receiver. I'll leave it linked above and below so you can take a look at it. This thing is gonna go into Wi-Fi mode after a few seconds. If you take a look, you can see it's flashing very slowly. And after 20 to 30 seconds, it's gonna flash really fast, indicating that it's in Wi-Fi mode. All right, it's flashing really fast now. Let's go to our Wi-Fi. Here it is, Express LRS Receiver RX Connect. And once that's done, it's gonna bring up the page here. So it showed me I have BetaFlight 2400 RX firmware, which is good, that's the target. And the firmware is unknown. Now I've flashed numerous of these receivers before, so I have the file saved to my computer. So I really don't have to go to the Express LRS configurator. So I just choose my file, BetaFPV, Nano RX, and here it is, 2400. Open, and then we should be able to just update right here. Shows you your progress bar. All right, it's succeeded. All right, so let's just see if that worked. So I'm gonna put my radio on and it should bind automatically, hopefully before I hit.
Welcome to OpenTX. Disarmed. Flight mode echo.
All right, cool. We have telemetry here, so that's a really good sign. So now we're gonna go to BetaFlight and just make sure everything here works. Let's put this fan on. I'm just gonna here and save my configuration in case I screw anything up. Save, so I have that there now. So okay, so now we can mess around with this and see what's going on here. So this looks good. We saw that tab already. Configuration looks good. We do have a barometer in this drone here, so that's pretty cool. I might want to take a look at it and see how it works, if it's accurate. Here we are. All right, so everything is centered. Interesting. I have no input here. All right, oh yeah. I said it earlier and I caught myself. All right guys, so don't make this mistake. I said it earlier and you know, I got so comfortable with it connecting. That looks good. This needs to be converted to crossfire. Boom. Connect. And we have a slight drift here. All right, so that's now set to crossfire and now we have inputs here. So this thing looks really good and this thing is moving really quick, so the rates are really high on this thing. And I think everything here looks good. Look at that. There's a lot of info. All right, that's what I want. Let's just save it. All right, so one thing we didn't do was the failsafe, and that's interesting. So I'm gonna set up my failsafe here for my GPS in case we do lose a link with our receiver. Then the failsafe is gonna kick in, and I'm gonna set up GPS rescue so it can come back closer to me and we can have our link back, whether it be our visuals or our actual radio link. I'm gonna set this up really quickly here, but if you do wanna see my GPS settings and how I set this failsafe up, leave a comment down below and I'll make a video showing you how to set up your failsafe and how to set up your GPS rescue. I think this is all good. I have it 6. All right, this looks all good with the exception of our video transmitter. All right guys, this drone here is all set up. Let's head on over to the table, put the props on this, and then go for a flight. Okay, so we're back at the table here. We have our drone here is all configured. The first thing I want to do here is just unlock this VTX. So it's as easy as pressing the button on the VTX for 15 seconds, and that should unlock it. So let's try that. All right, solid red light. So let's press this. 13, 14, 15. Release. All right, it looks unlocked. This red light here should be flashing, and it is. If you have a solid red light, then it's locked. If it's flashing, it's unlocked. So it's unlocked. We're just gonna put this off. Let's just add this mat here. Let's remove this stickers. Now here's your battery mat, and there's some cutouts here, but it's not pushed out. So you have the option of removing it or leaving it in here. I'm personally gonna remove it just to get more airflow into the electronics. Let's just remove the sticker and apply this on here. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's also add this GoPro mount on here. Now it's pretty cool. There's a little groove right here, an extension. I'm guessing it goes in here, and then it just goes on these 2 screws. All right. All right, this is starting to look like a full drone here. Take a look at that. This is really cool. All right, last thing here are the propellers. So let's put these things on. Props are in, if I remember correctly. Props in. Go. right, let's torque these things down. That's nice. Wow. Check this out, guys. The color is amazing with this black and then this green color on the sides. Impressive. It looks intimidating. Just like a mean, stealthy looking, you know, drone. I think the way they want you to put or route this battery is inside the strap so it doesn't get caught in the propeller. All right, so just gonna put this inside here, and that's gonna keep it away from the prop. That looks good, actually. Now all you gotta do is just put this to the side, and we're off to the races. Whew! It's beefy, guys. This thing has to be over 800 grams. Let's get the scale. All right, here's the scale right here. Let's put this on and see how much it weighs with the GoPro and the battery. Wow, 800 on the dot. Well, 801. Let's fire this thing up and see if it works. All right, let's step back a little bit and let's try some of these stuff here. Guess what? It's not gonna arm. Let's try it. All right, guys, so unfortunately I cannot arm it, and it makes sense, and that's fine, because it requires a certain amount of satellites before I can arm it. All right, well, typically I would just start it in here and see how it works, but this one has GPS, and although it's a bummer I can't start it in here, it's for my own good, because I don't want to arm this thing, fly, and then use the GPS rescue, and this thing just goes to the moon or just drops out the sky. So what else can we do? Let's go outside and fly this thing.